A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death.
The conflict in the Middle East is now in its third week, and Britain is already involved, whether we like it or not. We've got forces in the region, bases on alert, and a real stake in what happens next. Starmer says we're not getting pulled into a full-scale war, just protecting British nationals and defending our interests. But here's the real question. What does any of this actually do for Britain? Because this isn't our war. It's another war in the Middle East, and we've all seen how well those go. And yet, here we are again, the US trying to drag us into it. So why is this even happening in the first place? We've got Iran sitting on one of the most important regions on the planet, pretty much slap bang between Europe, Asia and Africa. Because of that, it's a key transport hub globally. Think about how much trade runs through there. Oil, gas, shipping, pretty much everything runs through that region. And that's why this war has really started. The Americans want control over it, or at least influence, because if you don't, someone else will. And that someone else is China or Russia. Israel's got its own reasons as well. They don't want a strong rival living next door. Whether you like it or not, that's just how these things work. So when things kick off in that part of the world, it's not just random. It's about power and who controls what. And Britain? Starmer says the priority is protecting British nationals in the region. Sounds reasonable enough, but what does that actually mean? Are we talking about Brits on holiday, people in Dubai who just need a flight home? Or are we talking about British nationals who live in these countries, with families and ties there? Because those are two completely different situations. One is just getting people on a commercial flight and bringing them to Britain. The other could mean evacuations and potential military involvement. And as we'd expect from Starmer, he doesn't really explain which one he means. On the military side, we've already got our forces out there, bases in Cyprus, jets in the region, defensive systems in place. And to be fair, this is one area where Starmer actually makes sense. Defend our bases, protect our people, don't get dragged into anything bigger. And that's exactly how it should be. Because at the end of the day, if it's not making life better for people here, what are we actually doing it for? Because all whilst this is going on, talk of fighter jets, warships, military strategy, the deployment of US Marines, look at the absolute state of Britain. Starmer says the war's already having an impact here, and he's not wrong. Disruption in Iran is already pushing up the price of oil, gas and basic goods. Fuel prices have already skyrocketed and people are already feeling the squeeze. But like you'd expect from a Liberal Labour MP, it all gets boiled down to money, prices, markets and GDP. And yes, that matters, of course it does, but that's not the full picture. People can't get a doctor's appointment. The NHS is on its last legs. We now have crime rates that put the third world to shame. Police take hours to respond, if they bother showing up at all. Homelessness is through the roof, and civil war is now a mainstream talking point. The frustration and anger is palpable. And it's not just civilian life that's been run into the ground. Look at the state of our military. We've had years of cutbacks that have absolutely gutted the armed forces. We have around 180,000 military personnel across all services, and barely 70,000 of those are actually in the army. We have around 150 main battle tanks. That might sound like a lot until you realise Russia rolled into Ukraine with thousands. If tomorrow the RGs tried their luck again in the Falklands, could we put together a task force and liberate the islands as we did in the 80s? And if that's even a question, then we've got no business being dragged into anyone else's wars. Starmer also talks about limiting any threat Iran may pose. But that's easier said than done. Iran is a regional power, backed into a corner and facing the most advanced military in the world. And when countries get pushed like that, they don't just step back. They adapt, they harden, they fight. So the idea that this can all be neatly managed from the outside diplomatically is optimistic. But it's still a better option than putting British lives on the line. So where does that leave us? Right now, Starmer's saying we stay out of it. Defence only, no escalation. I never thought I'd say this, but on that point, Starmer is right. But the question is, how long does that hold? Because if this escalates, and if Americans put boots on the ground, does that position stay the same? Or do we get pulled in further, like we have before. So, what do you reckon? Is Starmer right to keep us out of this, or should we be attacking Iran alongside the US and Israel? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more videos like this, subscribe.